My name's Joe Inslee, and I'm really excited to have you back for an episode of Things Jesus Said, a series where we get to look at different little sayings of Jesus that we might miss just reading through the Bible, and we get to really examine them and dig into them. If you appreciate my effort or you think this is any way worth supporting, please subscribe to my video. And if you don't think it's good, well then pray for me so I'll get it right, and the next one you'll like a little bit better. Let's dive right into Mark chapter 2, 17. And today, this is a really fun statement because this is kind of a biblical, I can't even. That's kind of what Jesus does here in Mark chapter 2, verse 17. But first, let me introduce to you our characters. Jesus, obviously. The Pharisees. We have the crazy. The sick are well, but the well are sick. The well need to get sick, and the sick need to get well. Who even knows what's going on? So let's talk about the bad, the Pharisees. Now, the Pharisees had this idea of elite religiosity. In fact, they're kind of like libertarians in a way because they hate tax collectors. Tax collectors are the worst. Dr. Sprinkle likes to say gay is the new tax collector. Well, he says that because like most of our churches would treat a gay person, the Pharisees would treat a tax collector. And that's kind of what's going on. So they hate tax collectors, all right? They have this definition of sinners, and they've devised up their definition of sinners. It's not necessarily what Jesus would call a sinner, not what God would call a sinner. The Pharisees can call someone a sinner, and they're super liberal with this.
Sinner, 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 sinner.
The Pharisees lived by this thing called the tradition of elders. The tradition of the elders was a body of ethical and moral teachings that was really hard to understand. In fact, just learning to understand the tradition of the elders was like the hallmark of getting into the tradition of elders club. It's like a nerd group for people who are earning their own righteousness. So anyway, they have this super hard tradition of elders they live by. They work super hard to understand it, and they're all trying to earn righteousness so they can go to heaven, right? Old covenant going on, sacrificial deal, but they need to be perfect so they can make it to heaven in the end. Imagine a group of these guys are rolling up on this scene, and they see Jesus, and he's eating with
sinner, 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 sinner.
Not only is he eating with them, you got to understand that in these days when people ate with someone, they reclined while they did it. And reclining meant that you were accepting of someone. Now, let's talk about approval versus acceptance. You'll find this in some of your churches today, where acceptance and approval have the exact same definitions in everybody's mind. Jesus, however, breaks that dichotomy down a little bit. Jesus might not approve of what you're doing. It doesn't mean he's not going to accept you. The way of Jesus is to have personal purity that allows for a fellowship with others full of grace and mercy. But in the Pharisees, if I don't approve of what you're doing, I do not accept you, no fellowship.
Sinner, 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 sinner.
Not very nice guys. So they roll up on Jesus, just shattering their dichotomy. And they talk to Jesus and they're like, what are you doing eating with the sinners? And Jesus says, those who are well don't need a doctor, but the sick do need one. I didn't come to call the righteous, but sinners. Jesus has boundaries? What? But we know the Pharisees aren't well. We know the Pharisees are actually sick. But they think that they're well. So in order for them to get well, they have to know that they're sick. And once they think they're sick, and they know they're sick, then they can actually get well. Mind-blowing. Think Ray Comfort here. You have to get them lost to get them saved. That's where the Pharisees are at. So Jesus is actually just, I'm not going to deal with you right now. You don't even know how sick you are. I'm not here for you. And let me insert a quick note here that righteousness is miserable to try to earn. The Pharisees were a miserable group of people. Righteousness is miserable to earn, but it's a priceless gift. So Jesus came to offer righteousness through his work, but it makes me wonder, if Jesus was here today, would he be hanging out with the church leaders, or would he be hanging out with the people maybe the church leaders call
Sinner, 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 sinner.